time for everything.
Sometimes there are chapters that come to a close before you're ready to turn the page. You feel like there's more to the story. You can get so engulfed in that chapter that when the page turns, it's a smack in the face, a reality check, a reset, many times placing you in a transition season looking for what's next. My collegiate running chapter closed exactly 1 year ago, a chapter I thought was far from over. Plenty of goals still to achieve, times to hit, places to go. It didn't feel right for that chapter to end, but looking back, I think it's the best thing that could have happened for me. What was the hardest season of my life has become the greatest lesson and a springboard into unlocking my biggest passions. Life is full of change. More specifically, it's full of endings. The end of a season, the end of a job, the end of school, the end of time in a city. These changes and endings aren't easy, but they're necessary. It's what keeps you growing and adapting to be at your best. My time at Tennessee was full of change and full of ending. A canceled season due to COVID, 3 coaches in 4 years, switching majors twice. There were not a lot of things constant. Some of these endings and changes were made for me, while others were choices I made that were a result of what I thought was the best thing to do for me at that time to find success. I began to realize that knowing when and how to let something go is one of the greatest skills that you can learn. Track not ending would have kept me from growing. Stepping out of that situation and letting go of that chapter pushed me to start content, to take my faith seriously, to be intentional with who I was spending my time with, to truly be myself and be proud of that, and be working hard to fill my mind and my soul with things that are aligned with who I was trying to be. Most importantly, with necessary endings comes timely beginnings. It was easy for a while to see all the doors that were closing, instead of being grateful for the ones that had opened. A platform to share my story, a joy and a passion for running I hadn't felt in some time, a faith where I was all in, a community around me that accepted me for me and pushed me to be my best, a fire for creating content and building something bigger than myself. If you're someone in a sunset chapter where your season or career is over, going through a coaching change, or just dealing with some changes with life in general, take some time to actually let those things go, reflect on them, and take advantage of the new beginnings that are an important part of your story and will allow you to continue to grow as an individual and as an athlete. Necessary endings, timely beginnings. This past week I listened to Nick Bare's podcast and specifically his reflections on his move back into the CEO role at BPN. He defined his Nashville chapter as a period where he sharpened his axe, where he worked on his skill set in a transition season so when it was time to chase the next goal, he was ready. It's something I've resonated with so much recently. So a year ago when track ended, a lot of other things also shifted. I moved back home with my parents to save money for the following year, and over the course of the next 4 months, my life did an entire 180. I was in this transition period where I wasn't running track, was still in school to finish up classes, had a job already lined up post-graduation, had very few friends still left in town, and was working random part-time jobs while trying this whole content thing. I felt very lost. Everything that had defined who I was changed, and life was completely different from the years prior. But this time is where I began to sharpen my axe. Much of that sharpening began subconsciously, but I finally realized the opportunity that I had. A year with no distractions to grow my skill set and set myself up to really go after this next challenge and season of life. These past 8 months were a transition season, a time to step back, reflect on the past 10 years of running, figure out what running should and could look like moving forward, learn more about myself, consume valuable content to grow in the areas I was lacking, and continue to try new things and be creative in the content space. I've built the toolkit to go out and attack whatever lies ahead. This is what sharpening your axe looks like. So maybe you find yourself in a transition season. Your sport is over, you're moving cities, you're coming back from injury. It's easy to let the unknown throw you off course, but step back and look at this season as an opportunity. Take advantage of it. Find ways you can learn and grow to prepare yourself for the battle ahead. Sharpen your axe. Share your passions, paint your vision. I heard someone give advice that finding his success was solely due to sharing his passions with other people. Over the past year, I've taken this advice to heart. I do my best in conversation to give people a picture of who I truly am by sharing what I'm passionate about. Sometimes they could care less, but for the people that are interested and even share these passions, a true relationship is formed. But sharing your passion isn't where this stops. It's actually where it begins. The next step is to paint your vision, paint your goals, your dreams, the things you write down and push towards. Let that community know what these visions are to stay accountable and be encouraged on the path toward them. Maybe that's a group text with your local run club sharing your goal times for the next road race coming up. Maybe it's having a meeting with your coach to outline your goals for the upcoming season, a call with your best friend to share what your next venture is. But most importantly, it's painting these visions for yourself, having visual cues of what these goals and aspirations are so you're reminded every single day. I've painted these visions through group text, calls, one-on-one meetings, hangouts, and with dozens of note cards around my room with my desires for what I want to do as a creator, as a runner, as a follower of Christ, and as a human being. Sharing my passions and painting my vision has helped build a great community and a confidence in what I'm capable of doing. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time for war and a time for peace. A time for everything.